Good morning, family. Welcome to this second Sunday in the month that we have dedicated to the study of Black history. Thank you for joining us, but you got to know that we gather in this space at this hour to give God praise and worship from wherever we are. Thank you for joining us. You still have time to tell somebody to connect with us on our various platforms. Let's go into the worship experience.
No, war is not the answer. Only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Yeah. Oh, picket lines and picket signs. Don't you punish me with brutality. Gotta talk to me so we can see, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? Mother, everybody thinks we're wrong. But who are they to judge us? Simply 'cause we wear our hair so we can long. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Oh, picket lines and picket signs. Don't you punish me with brutality. You gotta talk to me so we can see, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on?
tramping out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed his fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth, yeah, is marching on. In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born, oh, across the sea with a glory in his bosom that transfigured you and me as he died to make men holy. Let us die, oh, to make men free. While God is marching on. Yes, glory, glory, hallelujah, hallelujah. His truth, yes, is marching on. Oh, yes, his truth, yes, marching on.
Hey family, it's time for us to enter that part of the worship experience where everyone can participate. This is our time to give back, to give into the work of ministry. Haven't we enjoyed all that we've experienced so far? Even though this is virtual, well, this takes work, and every dime that you give goes to the work of ministry to make sure that we put forth quality broadcasts, to ensure that we are helping to vaccinate and test our community for that dreaded COVID-19, to make sure that we're still feeding, that we're still meeting people's needs, to make sure that we are doing those things that God has called us to do, to seek the salvation of those we meet and to stand for justice for those who can't speak up for themselves. And so I want to invite you now to consider what God uses your church, this church, to do, New Canaan and Elm Grove. And please give back according to the way that God has blessed you. If you give electronically, I'd encourage you to take out your device right now and give what God puts on your heart to give. If you're the one and you like to write the check or put the cash in the envelope, we invite you to do so. You know where to find us. Again, I want to assure you that when you give, the money, the seed that you sow, goes to produce good fruit in our communities. All right, family, you know what it looks like, right? You can see we representing. I know this is Super Bowl Sunday, but we can't forget my man that sacrificed the most that we have seen in a long time. And so while we watch the game today, don't forget our man, Colin Kaepernick. But the most important thing right now is to go in to the preaching moment. We're going to talk today about whatever it takes. We're going all the way.
It takes just to make it. I'm going all the way. And I may be down sometimes. I won't be down away. I've had some problems, heartaches and pain, trying to find the answer. I've been racking my brain, trying to make it, and it's too clear to get myself together and go on from here. Yeah, to make it, I'm going all the way. Now I may be down sometimes, I won't be down always. Now I know better, it's time to move on. My determination is what keeps me strong. Oh, I believe in myself like never before. Faith is the key that unlocks the door. Just make it, I'm going all the way. I won't be down sometimes, I won't be down always. Whatever it takes, just make it, I'm going all the way. Now I may be down sometimes, I won't be down always. Whatever it will take just to have when your life is time to move on. You know, don't ever stop running. Whatever it takes just to make it, I'm going all the way. Yeah, and I may be down sometimes, I won't be down always. Won't be down. Whatever it takes just to make it. See, I'm going all the way. Sometimes I won't be down always. Make it, I'm going all the way. And I may be down sometimes, I won't be down always. Won't be down always. Whatever it takes just to make it. See, I'm going all the way. Yeah, I may be down sometimes, I won't be down away.
All right, fam, it's time now to get into, to look at, to observe together, to watch God move in our lives as we declare the good news of the gospel, while at the same time drawing closer to Him as we get a better understanding of His word. I know that this is Super Bowl Sunday, and I don't know who's planning to watch or not. I don't know who's trying to get the food and the libations together or not. And so I know I better get into this, say what I got to say, and get out of your way. And so if you would, please join me for our second sermon in this month dedicated to the study of Black history as we look at the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah chapter 6, verses 1 through 4 calls our attention. The book of Nehemiah, chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. This is what is written in the New International Version. When word came to Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem, the Arab, and the rest of our enemies, that I had rebuilt the wall and not a gap was left in it, though up to that time I had not set the doors in the gates, Sanballat and Geshem sent me this message: come, let us meet together in one of the villages on the plain of Ono. But they were scheming to harm me. So I sent messengers to them with this reply: I'm carrying on a great project and cannot go down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and go down to you? 4 times they sent me the same message, and each time I gave them the same answer. That is the reading of God's holy and unchangeable word. As you could probably tell from the ministry of our music ministry, probably the greatest band in the land. And what can we say about our psalmist, Brother Corey Stewart? Our title today is I'm Going All the Way. I'm going all the way. Let's take this journey together. No doubt that this Ezra and Nehemiah narrative lays out for us God's persistent plan of restoration and reformation. God is constantly restoring and reforming his creation, particularly the highest or the pinnacle of his creation, and that is humankind. And thankfully, as it relates to restoration and reformation, our ancestors and our elders were eminently correct and theologically sound when they used that prosaic phrase, God knows. I'm so glad that they taught us God knows. As elementary as it sounds, God knows what is right for us, and God knows when to move in our lives, to manifest what is right for us. I'm so glad that they taught us God knows the areas in our lives that require restoration, and God knows when it is good and when it is proper to engage in a season of reformation. I'm telling you, God knows. And just in case you're wondering what's the difference, restoration suggests notions of repairing and rebuilding and renewing. That is, God has a way to move something or someone back to their former and proper state. We like to say it like this, that God will help you to get your mind right. I know I'm right about it, because there are other times that may require that God restore not just our mind, but our finances. God will restore our dignity and our self-confidence. God will restore station and standing in our lives. Believe me when I tell you that God knows how and God knows when to restore. But now reformation, on the other hand, involves altering a thing or a person to make it better than it was. Did you hear that? Reformation says that God will alter a thing, reshape a thing or a person in order to make it better than it was before. Restoration gets us to where we were. Reformation moves us beyond where we were. It's not difficult to tell that in God's reformation plan, it's not merely a part of our religious lexicon. No, it's how God shapes our lives to suit his perfect plan for us. Some of our lives give witness to God's reformation powers. I know I'm right, because some of us right now, because God decided to reform some things in our lives, now we can think better, and now we can perceive better, and now we discern better, and now we judge better, and now we make better choices, all because God reformed some things. To be sure, God involved the priest Ezra and the politician Nehemiah to restore the walls in the city of Jerusalem, and God worked spiritual and moral reformation among the people. God took care of the security of the city, while at the same time God refined and rehabilitated the people so that they did not make the same stupid mistakes over again. Please don't you dare think that God's restorative and reformative powers were only in the 5th century BCE. No, God is still giving us what we need to shake back, while at the same time God upgrades our thinking. God still gives us what we need to get up after we have fallen, while at the same time God elevates us in due season. That's why they're tripping on you right now. They tried to judge you based on where you were, without ever peeping game that God was taking you farther than they could ever imagine, probably even farther than you could ever imagine. See, in Nehemiah's case, they saw the rubbish, but they couldn't see the rebuilt wall. In your case, they see the struggle and the strain, but what they can't see is the exaltation in God's due season. So just in case you find yourself lagging behind, let me go on and get us all on the same page. In case you don't know Nehemiah's story, Nehemiah is caught up in exile and gets permission from the Persian king to go back and to rebuild the walls in Jerusalem. Nehemiah had heard that the walls were all torn down, that the hood was not what it used to be. So Nehemiah not only gets permission from the king, but he garners resources from the king and permission to pass through the king's territory to go back and to rebuild the wall in the community, in the neighborhood where Nehemiah grew up. Nehemiah left his good job in the Persian Empire to go back and to rebuild what the Babylonians had torn down. While he is there and the work is coming together and the people had a mind to work, Nehemiah's enemies, his enemies, Sanballat and his crew, decided that they would disrupt, decided that they would stop the work. They didn't want to see the hood come back to what it used to be. But Nehemiah and his crew would not let Sanballat and his crew stop the work. Come closer, because what we recognize is that Nehemiah and his crew determined that they would prove Sanballat and those who were with him, they would prove them wrong. They decided that they would overflow whatever those who were on the outside thought or had to say about them and the work that they were doing. That's part of the problem that we suffer today with these gatekeeping Negroes who try to enforce patriarchal approaches to say that others should aspire to be like them. I'll say that for you again. That's the problem we have today. When people are trying to rebuild, the gatekeeping Negroes try to step in to criticize and to stop the work. Come closer, because a general observation will beg the question of why should we aspire to take on the demeanor and even the aspirations of those who want to control the work without considering what God has called us to do. In the second consideration, we need to examine what it took to to become what those who are trying to stop the work, what did it take for them to become who they are and to accomplish what they accomplished? See, I might not be, might not be built to do the things that they had to do and keep on doing, to get what they have and to maintain their so-called status and influence. I think I'll hit you with this, and maybe you will get it, that the truth is that we may not want to be so intimate with our enemies. We may not have it in us to despise our own kind. We may not have developed the capacity to scratch where nothing is itching and to laugh when ain't nothing funny. See, we may just want to represent ourselves for who we are in every situation and in no matter what company we keep. So look at how Nehemiah handled it. Are we still together? Look at how Nehemiah handled the situation. He refused to center his worldview or his potential on the opinion of Sanballat and his friends. Don't check out. Please, let me explain myself. See, what the text demonstrates to us is that Nehemiah understood, one, Sanballat's opinion is not the standard by which Nehemiah should measure himself and his work. I'm trying to get you to see how you handle your haters. Can I go over number one again? Sanballat's opinion is not the norm, nor is it the standard by which Nehemiah should measure himself or his work. Here's number two. It's going to get gooder till you check it. Sanballat's opinion is not the premium and is not universal. In other words, just because Sanballat has an opinion, that don't mean everybody thinks like him. Here's another one. Sanballat and his friends are not superior, and Nehemiah and his friends are not inferior. In other words, Nehemiah knew that he could not center his life, his self-perception, or his work around Sanballat. I hope you hear me today, and I hope you're listening, because there are a lot of Sanballats, and the spirit of Sanballat is still moving around even in the 21st century. We've all have some Sanballats in our lives that have tried to incorrectly persuade us, that they are the end all to end all, that they have it and they have all the answers. And if they didn't tell it to you, then it can't be right. We all have some Sanballats in our lives that try to rob us of our confidence and try to turn us away from our priorities such that we don't complete what we started. In church language, we say they are vision killers, but in the street, we just call them haters. You got some haters in your life? Let me show you again. See, haters don't want you to have nothing or to be anything unless they say it's all right. Vision killers, haters, they don't want it to move forward unless they out front. Vision killers and haters, they don't want us to ever think that there is a future where they are not in control. So the next time you're dealing with your Sanballat, the next time you're dealing with your vision killer, the next time you're dealing with your hater, let them know through your production and let them know through your progress that they are not the standard for which you will live. Let them know that they are not superior and you are not inferior. Let them know that their life's experiences will not determine your life experiences. So look at it. In the face of Sanballat's attempt to frustrate the people and to derail the project, Nehemiah and his crew kept working. Somebody say, keep working. No, you got to put that in the chat box. You got to say it out loud wherever you are right now. Keep working. See, what they decided, what Nehemiah decided, Nehemiah and the people did not give up in spite of the fact that they were threatened and intimidated. Check it. When Sanballat and his crew noticed that the walls were going up, this record says that they became very angry and conspired to come together and to attack Jerusalem and create confusion. But the work never stopped. See, when Sanballat and his crew recognized that things were moving forward, that there was progression and there was production, Nehemiah and his crew decided they can't stop, even though Sanballat and his boys decided that they would make fun of, ridicule the work, right? Remember in chapter 4 where it says, but it so happened when Sanballat heard that we were rebuilding the wall, that he was furious and very indignant, and they mocked the Jews. But the work kept going. And check it, Nehemiah and his crew, right? Are you still with me? Nehemiah and his crew. They didn't lose focus in spite of the attempts to distract them so they could be molested. Remember, we just read that and how it is that in chapter 6, verse 2, Sanballat and Geshem sent me this message. Come, let us meet together. Right? Come down off the wall. Let's meet. And all they were trying to do was cause confusion. But you know what? Nehemiah and the Jews would not stop building. Somebody say, don't stop building. Somebody say, don't stop building. Somebody say, don't stop building. In fact, it looks like that Nehemiah says, you can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. We will not stop what the Lord has called us to do. You can stand around and watch us and mean mug and like you're going to scare us. Yes, you can come in and try to cause confusion. But we will not stop building. You can laugh and make us the butt of your racist jokes. You can send your boys with messages to try to distract us. But we're going to just keep on building. And don't you know? That's the way it's always been with your people when we decide to straighten our backs and when we build without permission or consultation from the dominant culture, yet global minority. There has always been threats and attempts to cause confusion. There's always been contempt aimed and fired in our direction. There has always been attempts to move our attention away from what is important to make us lose our focus. And that's what's, truth of the matter, that's what's going on today. Not all of us, but far too many of us allow the threat of being cut off of what we think is our good thing. We allow the threat of being seen as the angry black man or the angry black woman. We allow the threat of not being perceived as a success cause us to mix and mingle good and evil, cause us to entangle right with wrong, cause us to jumble truth with lies, cause us to miss the mark until we're doing the same stupid stuff and not getting anything done. Come closer, because far too many of us allow ourselves, to become preoccupied with the wrong thing and the wrong one, so much that we pursue the wrong thing or the wrong one, and we give our time and our energy to the wrong thing or the wrong one, and we sacrifice for and to the wrong thing or the wrong one, and finally we find temporary satisfaction with the wrong thing or the wrong one, but we just end up with long-term misery. You got it, with the wrong thing or the wrong one. Too many of us allow the mockery and the misrepresentation of who we are and the standard by which we live to push us to do more harm to ourselves than any external entity could ever do. Right? We stun our own progression and our own production and our own prosperity because we worried about the opinion of somebody that don't matter in the first place. But did I tell you that Nehemiah and the crew just kept on building. building. While we're here, we may as well talk about this issue of building. Somebody say building. See, while we're together, we may as well get to the heart of the matter. That this episode in Nehemiah is that the people is charged to construct and reconstruct. The people are charged to construct and reconstruct walls back where they come from. Certainly, we who are on the Gulf Coast in Maya Angelou's yet to be United States understand what it means to have things torn down in what seems like a moment and to be forced to rebuild or reconstruct. We who live in this part of the world know what it is to have the rebuilding process to seem like it is way too much for us to accomplish. And so we face the temptation to quit. We face the temptation to throw in the towel. We face the temptation to just leave it alone. I know you know what I'm talking about, but I need to tell you today that you are built, you are designed. I know that's a play on words. For construction. And sometimes it may not feel or seem like it, but you are built and designed to put things together and to pile things on top of one another to remove the confusion and the chaos. That's because God uses you, me, we, us together in his construction projects, abstract and material. God uses us so that we might give him glory. And so may I tell you that the time is now to build and rebuild. The time is now to restore and reform what the enemy has torn down. It's time for us now to rebuild in ourselves and in one another. Self-confidence and self-esteem. Especially in our children. It's time to rebuild honor for the right thing and shame for the wrong things in our families and in our community. It's time to rebuild respect for our queens and esteem for our kings. Build and rebuild institutions that nurture, that uplift and empower our people. It's time now for us to come together and rebuild Black Wall Streets all over this globe. Shout out to my man Louis Ali and his crew for doing what they are doing in North Baton Rouge. It's time now for us to build and rebuild Magdalena Walker's St. Luke Penny Savings Bank in all of our communities. That's the first Black woman millionaire to build her own bank. Go check it out for yourself. It's time for us to build education formations that start in the home, that move into the church, and then finally reaches the schools. Did you catch that? Not dependent on the schools that are run by the dominant culture, but to build in our homes and run it through our churches, through our temples, through our mosque, and then send them a product. Then it reaches the school. Come closer. Because I don't want you to forget that while we are building, we should always construct for eternity and not the temporal. See, you thought I was just going off, didn't you? I don't want you to forget that while we are building, we build for eternity and not for the temporal. See, it's all good that we made statements about our faith in the Nubian Redeemer, Jesus the Christ. But will our lifestyle demonstrate our faith that will lead to eternal life? What will it look like, right? When we depart these earthly shells and our heart is weighed in the balance. I need to ask that again a little slower and a little more clearly. What will it look like when we leave these earthly shells and our heart is finally weighed in the balance when we face judgment? See, I know you have a title, but the question is, do you have a genuine testimony? I know you have a platform and a position, but what I want to know is, do you have a sincere profession of faith that is backed by your living? I know that you have curated your brand, but I need to know, have you been born again? I know that you have a seat at those people's table, but what I'd like to know is, do you have the security of knowing where your soul will stay? Because this earthly house is going to soon decay, and my soul got to have somewhere to stay. Come closer. Come closer. Are you still with me? Because we can do all of that, right? And none of that requires that we have to have all the answers. One of my favorite lyrical lines in all of music comes from the Sounds of Blackness, where they say, wherever all the way is, that's where I'm going. Ooh-wee. Did you catch that? Wherever all the way is, that's where I'm going. See, that concept is an imperative because it answers the prevailing questions that can turn into a stumbling block for us. Those questions are, yes, where do you think you're going? And how do you plan to get there? You know, that's the question that will kind of that's the questions that will kind of make us second guess ourselves. That's the questions that will cause us to reconsider our drive and our motives and even our resolve, our determination. Can I give you another consideration? Another consideration is that it helps us to keep moving forward, right? This idea of declaring wherever all the way is, that's where I'm going. That's what helps us to keep moving forward, despite the seemingly unending and sometimes logical reasons to stop along the way. It becomes a matter of understanding that the project, the thing that we seek to accomplish, the thing that we feel like we are called to complete is in and of itself the motivation. Did you hear that? It's finishing that's the motivation to keep on going, to see what the end will be. Sometimes our inspiration, and I dare say our aspirations, have to be bigger than recognition or a pat on the back, have to be bigger than acceptance and inclusion. They have to be bigger than the reward or the rudimentary promotion. So don't get me wrong, all of that stuff has its place. But the thing that drives us, the impetus that makes us strive for excellence is that God and that great cloud of witnesses that includes our ancestors keep reminding us that it's not enough to lay the foundation and accumulate resources. It's not enough to put up the framing and to expand your network. It's not enough to fill in and to improve your skill set. The prize is in finishing with excellence. Payoff is the display of our brilliance and of God's glory. The satisfaction is found in hearing him say, well done, my good and faithful servant. See, I don't know about you, but I have it in me to trust and believe that God resides at the end of all the way. Ooh, you better catch that. Not just God, but the fullness of who we're supposed to be, the fullness of who I'm supposed to be is at the end of all the way. I just believe that's why we have the provisionary nature of God. And that's what's at work in our lives, right? God has already gone ahead. God is at the end of all the way. He's at the end, but God knows what we will need as we reach the end. So while we're giving it our best, the Lord is providing what we need. And while we are overcoming what is meant to kill us, God is giving us what we need. And while we are ducking and dodging, what is meant to disturb and discourage us, the Lord is supplying all of our needs. And when our bodies get weary, yes, and when our minds are perplexed, you already got it. God is supplying everything that we need. That's why we have made up our minds wherever all the way is and whatever it takes to get there, we are going all the way. We may not know where it is and what it looks like, but we're going all the way. We may disagree with the routes that God makes us take, but we're going all the way. We may start with some, we may march with others, and we may finish by ourselves, but we are going all the way. We will certainly have to lighten our loads sometimes, right? Get rid of the sin and the weight that so easily besets us, but we're still going all the way. We will certainly have to rest for a little while. That's why Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and heavy laden," but we are still going all the way. Wherever all the way is and whatever it takes to get there, we are going all the way. Well, I'll bid you to deuces. But I need to remind you, as always, that we have a model of how to do it through our sable-skinned Savior. You remember, sisters and brothers, that the Gospels record that it came to pass one day that Jesus set his face towards Jerusalem. See, our Lord and Savior understood that all the way for him meant going through Jerusalem after he was born of a virgin and after he did the great things that's recorded, and after they got him on trumped up charges, after they racially profiled him in the garden, and after they pushed him through kangaroo courts, and after they convicted him unjustly, and after they assigned him to death, they tell me that Jesus went to Calvary because he set his face towards Jerusalem, and they tell me that they hung him high and they stretched him wide because he decided, I'm going all the way, and he gave up the ghost and he died because he decided, I'm going all the way. They put him in a borrowed tomb, yes, but 3 days later the Bible tells us that he rose from the dead. He rose from the dead. He rose from the dead, and because he now lives, he died one time and he ain't never going to die again, and because he now lives, we too can live. We can go all the way. He went all the way. He hung in there until he reached the end. And I came to tell somebody today, don't you give up. Don't you give in, because God makes a way for us to go all the way. Whatever it takes to make it. Let's go. You and me together. Community. Let's go all the way. Are you joining us? Are you going to take this journey with us? You know how you take the first step? First step is by deciding to make Jesus your Christ, right? Your Savior. God said, believe in me, believe in the resurrection, and you too can take this journey with us. And then you can't travel alone. It's too risky. Makes you too vulnerable. And so hook up with us, and along the way you'll find that we're doing the work of God, seeking the salvation of our friends and acquaintances, doing justice in the hood, trying to make things right for people that seem to struggle, and even for ourselves. And then lastly, we keep the communication lines open with God. So we'd like, one, for you to join us through professing Jesus as the Christ. 2, by joining our church. Or 3, finally, if you need prayer, we'd love to pray with you. For any one of those 3, just type connect in the box. Type connect. Somebody from our team will join you shortly. Contact us here at the church via internet, phone call, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Let's connect together. Let's take this journey together. Listen, God bless you. And as always, God keep you, right? You know that the hand of God is on your life, is on our lives. Otherwise, we would not have made it in this so-called new world. God is going to make the last first and the first going to be last. Go forward, believing and trusting that God is at the end, providing for us along the way. Dr. Angela sends her love. Of course, I want you to know that I love you. Peace.